Howdy team, welcome to today's little episode all about how you can go from beginner to winner in the mortgage industry. Over the last 3 days, as I shared with you before, we've trained 3 brand new advisors who have come with very little experience and wanted to understand how to do the job in the most efficient way, how to take home 6 figures. We also added to that our 2 trainees that we have in the office. So over 3 days, we've trained 5 people and it's been awesome. And I'm going to talk you through what we did, why we did it, and how we did it. So you can think about it too, whether you're thinking about training new advisors or whether you are an advisor that wants to be trained. The process that I put in place, I believe, is going to get all of these guys to £100,000 in the next 1 to 2 years, depending on the clients that they attract, depending on their skills in marketing and networking and building relationships and dragging introducers. We had 3 days, all in Active HQ, in Chelmsford, in Essex, mapped out and planned. Day 1 was all about process and products. Day 2 was designed about my CRM system, walking them through it, taking everything they learned in day 1 and putting it into practice in the most simple, robust and effective way, giving them the automation and the systemization, there we go, behind how to do the brokering job. And day 3 was then all set up for role plays, for practice, for playing client and playing advisor, to make sure that they understood exactly how to go through the job. But here was the thing. Day 1 was awesome. We were sat in the office, we were around the table, we were on the big screen, we were chatting away, we were building on the relationship capital as well. And one of my managers who travelled quite a fair distance as well. We had one advisor from Newcastle, we had another one from Brighton, another one from Southampton. One of my managers travelled from Evesham and he got hit by illness in the afternoon. Started to feel really, really ropey. So as a precautionary measure, decided to do a lateral flow test in the evening and it came back positive. Not the best and most ideal scenario. Now he's all good and well. He woke up in Tuesday morning, he went back home, he went back to the hotel, he slept it off. He woke up luckily on day 2, feeling right as rain. Everybody else, the 3 advisors who had come from distance, the 2 advisors who were from my office, my other manager, we all did lateral flows. Thank Christ, all of ours came back negative, but we made the decision, rather than going into the office, that we would carry on Zoom. Not how I wanted to run our first training course, not how I wanted to do things, but in business, you have to pivot and you have to adapt to do things in the right way that get an outcome. And I dare say, the remaining 2 days, the guys did really, really well. So day 2, we went through the system. We went through everything that we learned and we taught them on day 1 about process and about products. We put into practice on day 2 by walking them step by step how to put this into practice with the automation and the systemization that my CRM, my customer relationship management tool, focuses on taking the client from A through to Z. And all they had to do was walk through, and we just showed them. We then left them to their own devices. We put them into breakout rooms. We leveraged those so they could work in pairs. We allowed them to have some time just to play with the system and then come back with some questions. Daniel had actually been doing the job. He's done about 40 applications already, so he had some live cases to put on, which was great. And that was successful. It was all right. It wasn't, it's not as good as when you're sitting in a room together and you've got the emotion, you've got the questions, you've got the relationship that you're building. You're sitting in a room, or one of them was in a hotel room, another one was in Costa, and the rest were kind of at home because they were the local lads, and it was a challenge, but we got it done, and that was the key thing. Day 3 we then kind of reinforced a lot of day 1 and day 2 once again, but then we started doing some role plays, and this is a really, really vital part of the step that I think so many trainees and businesses skip. The absolute importance at anything is your practice. What you do when you are behind the scenes, when you're not sitting in front of the client. That's the bit that makes the difference. And that's the bit that so many drop. You're an Olympian. You train all year to do one competition, to run 100-meter race. You're a UFC fighter, a boxer. You're training for 3 to 6 months for one, however many minutes, potentially second fight. You're a footballer. You're training 5-6 days a week for one 90-minute match, maybe two per week. But how much training and hours are you putting in? How much professional feedback are you being given? As we discussed yesterday, we did a role play. I was like, just don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. In making mistakes, they identified things that they said that they wouldn't say in the real world. They identified things that, they wouldn't potentially put into practice in the real world. And that was absolutely fine. So I really want you to think about where you need to practice behind the scenes, not in front of a live client, because that can make all the difference in the results that you ultimately get. The other thing that we did, which was really, really key, which is another thing that I think people forget. When I was employed in 2003 up until 2006, Woolwich, Connells, Alexander Hall, I was doing, say, 10 appointments a week, first appointments a week. That's full fact finds, an hour appointment, 2 per day, 10 hours a week, fact finding, 500 hours a year, fact finding, filling in the same form. That's 1,500 fact finds over the course of 3 years. When you're faced with that much repetition, when you're faced with that many different client case scenarios, you get even bigger and better and faster results. And it's a game changer for you. So I've said to them, what I want to see with every client that they speak to is no cutting corners, no messing around, no trying to shortchange themselves. Focus on doing a full and proper job and break that first appointment down into two, that first strategy call. Bring the connection between the strategy call that I've always talked about before and the fact find. Have a conversation with somebody, fill in the form from 30 to 60 minutes, then say, thanks very much indeed, I've got all the information I need. Let me go and get you an idea of some interest rate, do a little bit of pre-research and give you a call back in half an hour. And then give them a call back. Give them a rough indication of cost and interest rate and everything else, and then present the process and your fee. And that just breaks it up for you. It enables you in that part of the situation. Yes, you haven't got any documents at that point in time, but that's how you get good. You're giving them an indication. You're not giving them the lender. You're not giving them the full details of the product that they're ultimately going to get, but you're taking the pressure off yourself in trying to get the results super, super fast. And you're providing, as a result of that, a much better level of client service, and you're taking the pressure off of yourself in trying to do everything at once. So break it down. Focus on the mortgage in the first call and focus on the second call, giving them a call back on the same day in half an hour with a rough indication of cost and interest rate. Talk about the process and the fee. Then get the documentation in, and once you've received the documentation and assessed the documentation, at that point in time you can give them the next call where you then look at you do the protection. And that's vital. That's the key bit, breaking it down into stages. If you look at the mortgage job, there's 4 key parts. Number 1 is everything up to the point of AIP, and that's all about client and relationships and documents. You then have the second part of the job, which is all about AIP, application and suitability letter. You then have the third piece of the job, which is all about underwriting, all about the lender, and all about getting you to the stage of offer. And then the last piece is everything your job is done as a broker. Everything after that, from offer through to completion, is stage 4. If you can master step number 1 and do it repetitively and do it quickly and not cut corners, you will find that you master 2, 3, and 4 much, much quicker. All the pressure, all the issues, all the relationship capital all comes in phase number 1. Master that fast, do that repetitively, and you'll build better relationships, you'll have better conversations, you'll identify the issues, the pains and the problems that you have, the things that you say that you shouldn't, and you can get more support from the people who help you lead. So I'm pleased to say that these guys are on the road now. We're luckily the week before Christmas, so the goal over the course of the next week is to make sure that we help them, we embed those learnings, we get some applications going, we get some recommendations out there, We make sure that we get the documentation done, and we support them on the journey from going to from beginner to winner, from disaster through to master. We are onboarding in my brokerage. We are taking on brand new trainee advisors. We're also welcoming in some seriously experienced advisors who aren't doing the job in the most efficient way, who are finding challenge when it comes to social media, to having systems and processes, and a team that really support you and want to be part of a company and a culture that is the best of the best. A positive culture, a professional culture, and probably my most important one, a personal culture, where it's about the personal relationships with you, the clients. We make you even better so that you can live a life you love, so that you can do the things that you want with who that you want, and so that you can take an income home that you absolutely deserve. So if you want to become part of the A team, if you want to be the best of the best, if you want to join Active, our doors are always open. You've just got to comment, send me a DM. It's all about the right people in the right seats. And we are playing to win. We are playing to change this industry and change your life. So thanks very much indeed for tuning in. As always, it is an absolute pleasure to share these inspiration, motivation and education with you. Always here for you. Would love to get your comments and feedback on this one. Make sure that you do like and subscribe to the channel and that you stay in touch with anything and everything that you need, because I am here for you, to help you excel, to help you be a better human, to help you achieve and realize your goals. Thanks very much indeed for tuning in. Remember, now's the time to become pro.